Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be showing from the second leg of the FIDE Grand Prix that started in Belgrade today. Yesterday was the opening ceremony, today were the first rounds, and the first game we're showing is Vidit versus Alexei Shirov. Neither of them need any introduction. We've seen many of their games, you know them very well. But as I always like to mention, when someone plays against Shirov, that it's probably going to be an incredibly sharp game, and especially in this one where Vidit prepared an incredibly sharp line for Shirov to tackle over the board. So the game is exquisite. You guys will enjoy it. Let's dive straight into it. So Vidit with the white pieces opens with e4. We have c5 by Shirov, knight to f3, d6, and now d4. So just a normal open Sicilian. C captures on d4, knight captures, and now knight to f6. We have knight to c3 and a6. The knight of Sicilian is on the board, and there are, well, infinite ways of tackling the knight of Sicilian, and one of the rare ones is what we see here today, and that is queen to d3. We've only discussed this move maybe twice on this channel, and I think once that Magnus played it, the other one was when Jordan Pamphores played it against I think Grandelius in the Tata Steel tournament last year, but it's like I said, incredibly rare, but it offers for some very exciting play. The queen can now go pretty much anywhere on the board. You can easily go after g7 if the bishop leaves the f8 square, and it's just a very tricky move for black to handle because, well, you're not used to it. So what can black do here? Well, the usual reply is knight b to d7, continuing as you would against pretty much any move that white plays. We want to play b5, bishop to b7, rook to c8, bring the knight to c5, so the usual knight of stuff. So here we have bishop to e2, and now b5. Black continues, well, in a normal way. And here there are some games in the database that reach this position, specifically the one that we've discussed, the Jordan Pamphores versus Grandelius from the Tata Steel, where a4 was played. Pamphores was able to win that game, but here we have knight to d5 by Vidit, and already as of move 8 we have a completely new game with this very special setup: queen on d3, knight on d4, knight on d5, and well, it's black to play. What do you play here? Well, you don't want to capture the knight, obviously. Sometimes you do, because white already moved the knight twice, and it seems like if you eliminate white's knight, then you will cost white some time. But here, white would just control too much space, already controlling that c6 square, not something you want to do. So, of course, Shirov just continues development, bishop to b7, and now we strike against the black's expansion on the queen side with a4, now threatening to win material here. So you have to deal with this, and the best way is well, almost always the way that we don't want to go, and that is b captures on a4. But this is such a sharp line, it would seem even too sharp for Shirov, but we will show it because it's super fun. B captures on a4, and now white has a variety of ideas, but the cleanest one seems to be queen to c4, going after that knight to c7 check. So black would have to eliminate the knight, so white gets his pawn on d5, now controlling the c6 square, and now we get something like queen a5 check, bishop d2, queen will capture the pawn here, and now queen captures on a4. And look at this, this is a complete mess. Even the queen can capture on g2. Let's say queen captures on g2, white castles queenside, and if you're not sure about what you're doing, and if you've seen the line for the first time, you do not go into something like this with black, because it's just, I mean, look at this. Everything is, there's no a pawn, there's no g pawn, the rooks are open, the bishops are out, and the black king is stuck in the middle of the board. An engine might hold this, a human, well, hard to believe. So instead, after a4, Shirov continues with knight to c5, makes more sense. You attack the queen, you attack the a4 pawn, and now Vidit just plays knight captures on f6 with check, so you mess up black's pawn structure a little, g captures on f6, and now queen to e3. Again, another move that, if not prepared, it's hard that you would make it, because you well, you block the development of your own pieces, so it's very hard to play this. And what happens if just knight captures on a4? Is this a free pawn? Well, if we capture it, not really. It's close to winning for white, because here c4, no, of course you cannot capture because the knight would hang, and once the knight goes back, let's say this, you play b4, and the position is just terrible for black. Once the knight moves, we're gonna capture here. Black's entire position just falls apart. So here Shirov goes for b, captures on a4, and now comes f3, just solidifying in the center, saying I have all the time in the world to recapture here once I kick the knight away, so no problems there. So here e5, chasing away the knight, and now knight to f5, as the bishop left the c8 square. The f5 square is a beautiful outpost for the knight. There's no e pawn or g pawn to kick it away from there. But as the case is with anyone who plays the Sicilian defense, if you allow them to push d5, you can be very sure they will push d5. So here Shirov just plays d5. And now white has to be careful. The e4 pawn is under attack, and also d4 might be very, very unpleasant if it comes on the board. So e captures on d5. We have queen captures on d5, a nice developing move for Shirov. And now queen back to f2. Now the bishop can be developed to e3, but also it's such a weird square for the queen. This is everything about this game is just weird. And here Shirov waits no longer. He just pushes e4. You could wait with this. You could prepare it a little bit. You could play some like rook to g8, h5, all good moves. But here Shirov likes to attack. He pushes e4 right away. And now what can Vidit do? His knight is all of a sudden hanging on f5, so he has to move it. Does he move it to e3 or g3? Both moves have its merit, but knight to e3 comes with tempo, so he goes for this, queen back to c6, and now Vidit just castles. And you don't really have to worry about e captures on f3, because once the bishop recaptures, it's not really an ideal setup for black. So here Shirov castles queenside, as he also wants a safe king before he starts attacking, but now Vidit goes knight to c4. And all of a sudden you can see the problem with black's position. You can see that the knight has very easy access to the pieces on the queen side. The bishop can easily come to f4, preventing the king from reaching safety. You can never capture here because bishop just captures on f3, puts more pressure on black's queen side. So what can Shirov do here? First he moves the queen to e6, and now he's already threatening e captures on f3. The bishop cannot capture, the knight would hang on c4. So what do you play here? If you go bishop to f4, which seems like a really great idea, now he captures on f3, like we've said, just isn't all that great for white. So instead, Vidit plays the very natural b3. He just defends the knight and says, all right, now I'm gonna play bishop to f4, and then it's gonna be very good for me. So here, how do you tackle this? Instead of b3, also knight to a5, just going after the bishop was a nice idea. But here we have a captures on b3, first eliminating one pawn, c captures on b3, and now even knight captures on b3. And now the rook is hanging, also the bishop is attacked. What can Vidit do here? One way is to just move the rook to b1, but this is extremely complicated. I will just show it because I know how much you guys enjoy such lines, and this is one big crazy line since the game just started, so we might as well continue in the same spirit. So here, if rook to b1, then we get e captures on f3, bishop captures, so we give up the knight on c4, but it's only a temporary sacrifice. And after queen captures here, we play bishop captures on b7, king captures, and now queen f3 check connects with the knight on b3 that's already attacked by the rook. So after king a7, we're gonna capture on b3, and now, okay, some like bishop c5 check, black wants to get some pieces into the game, and now queen d5 offering a queen trade, and now okay, if you look at the position, black is up 2 pawns, but white, of course, will not trade queens here. White will just move the queen or something, and then good luck surviving this position with the king on a7. Again, it can probably be played with perfect play. Black is probably okay here, but well, it's so hard to go for something like this. So instead, Vidit tries a different move. He plays knight to b6 check, and this move works unless it doesn't. And by it doesn't, I mean if Shirov finds a beautiful refutation of the move, probably Vidit, maybe he saw it, maybe he didn't, maybe he decided it didn't work. But feel free to pause the video here and try to find pretty much the only move for Shirov in this position while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on doing the unimaginable. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, of course, we just pick up the knight on b6. Queen captures on b6. That's what Shirov needs to play in order to survive this. It looks weird because, well, you just lost your queen, but not really. After queen captures, we're going to play bishop c5 check and win back the queen. So queen captures knight, queen captures knight captures, and now let's say f captures on e4, and we continue playing this. So it's a really crazy position. However, after knight to b6 check, Shirov did not see queen captures on b6, or maybe he decided that it wasn't all that great. He just played king to b8, and now this is a problem. Bishop to f4 check, we have bishop to d6, and now bishop to c4, bringing more pieces into the attack. As you can see, Vidit is getting a lot of development in. Shirov is also getting a lot of development in. The entire board is just very well developed. And again, an incredibly difficult position to calculate. Shirov plays queen to e8, and this move completely blunders the game away. The correct way to play this, even though it's hard to say if this would be enough for black, is e3. Crazy stuff. And okay, now the queen is hanging, and once we move the queen b2, we attack the knight here, or queen a2, then queen f5. What's happening here? We're attacking the bishop. Of course, the bishop will capture bishop with check. It comes with tempo. Rook captures on d6. Now queen captures on b3, and now this spectacular e2 move. But who would see such things? And now after bishop captures on e2, queen to c5 check, connecting with the knight. And again, we get this position, king h1, rook captures on b6, attacks the queen somewhere, queen captures on f7, let's say. And white will always enjoy this, well, just this fact that the black king is wide in the open and the white king is safe on h1. Okay, the white king is not safe, but it's much safer than the black king. So this would not be pleasant in any way. However, if he saw what was happening after queen to e8, then he probably would have went for that line. So here, Vidit just goes for bishop captures on d6 with check, rook captures, and now bishop captures on b3. So winning the piece, and now how do you continue here? Well, Shirov probably had plans of e captures on f3, because now it seems like the position is just falling apart after rook comes to g8. The problem is, if e captures on f3, then there's this beautiful bishop to d5 resource, and all of a sudden black has no moves. What do you play here? The only move that comes to mind is bishop captures on d5, but that is insufficient. If bishop captures on d5, we just capture it, and we're up a piece, unless black captures that knight on d5. But after this happens, it's actually a forced checkmate in 6, as the black king is wide in the open. So of course, if you go here, we just capture on a6, and if you go to the middle of the board, then we go for a nice king hunt, rook fc1 check, king d7, and now look at this, a nice beautiful queen to b8 checkmate. So that's the reality of it. And after bishop captures on b3, Shirov had to waste a move to bring one more attacker into the game. But this is all the time in the world that Vidit needs to just bring the knight back into the game. Knight c4 now attacks the rook, saves the piece. Rook to d3 attacks the bishop, and just bishop c2. And now once the rook moves, we're just going to capture on e4, and there's nothing more to worry about. So here, e captures on f3. Shirov has to continue happily attacking, hoping for the best. But now, in a crazy position like this, it's actually a calm move that seals the deal, and that is pawn to g3. And after this move, there's really no more moves for black. Rook to c3 was played, as the rook is still hanging, but now knight a5. Just going after the bishop. We're interested in trades only, as now we're up material. Queen to e2 was played, and now just bishop captures on h7. And it was in this position on move 30 that Alexei Shirov resigned the game. And what a spectacular victory for Vidit in only 30 moves against the Sicilian defense. So here, even though it looks like there's something happening, yes, the bishop is nice, the pawn on f3 is very nice, but what do you even play? Your rook is hanging. After something like rook g7, we just eliminate one of the attackers, and now whatever black plays, we just don't care. Knight e6, we bring the knight into the game. Black can never trade because the endgame is completely lost for black. We're up a piece, and, well, the triple f-pawn does not help here. So yeah, after bishop captures on h7, Shirov resigned, and a spectacular victory victory for Vidit in round 1 of the Belgrade FIDE Grand Prix. So this is the second Grand Prix, then we'll have the third one, and then we will finally have the 2 final challengers, not challenger, but 2 final participants of the next FIDE Candidates tournament. So yeah, remember this line well. You will probably be seeing it a lot in online chess if you play the Najdorf, or if you don't, if you like playing against the Najdorf, or if you face the Najdorf a lot, maybe queen to d3 is something worth looking into, because as you've seen, it's an incredibly sharp idea that can go very, very wrong for black very, very quickly. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Diego and Enriquez, Matt Backwith, Gregory Boschko, Mick Flannery, and Yevgen Levdansky for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix until it ends. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.